Okay, this is a setup for the international student version for the acceleration due to gravity lab. So in the first part, you're just going to you're going to do a fun little thing. You're going to measure your height with a pencil and a stopwatch. And you don't have to use a pencil. You can use I'm going to use a pen. You can use anything that will fall well, right? Not a feather or something that will have a lot of air resistance, but something that can engage in free fall. Okay, and then you just want to hold it by the top of your head and drop it to the ground. And you can use some sort of stopwatch, like you probably don't have an actual stopwatch, but if you have a watch, or probably even better, if you have a smartphone, then there's usually a stopwatch app on there, and you can get a good reading from that. And so what I'm going to do is, instead of actually trying to hold it and drop it from my head here, okay, what I'm going to do, because it's going to be hard for me to try to, see where I'm dropping it from, and so what I did was I marked on I have a whiteboard, so I was able to mark it easily, but I marked on here where my head was, and put a post-it note there, so I knew that the top of the post-it note meant that was my height, and then that way I could just drop the pencil easily from there. Okay, and you don't have to do that, but that's another thing that might make it a little bit more accurate. But I have a nice whiteboard here to mark on it with a marker. You might not have that, but whatever you do is going to be fine. And so there's a lot of error that we're going to have when we try to measure and calculate our height based on this. You can use the constant acceleration model you learned about, in order to determine your height. And there will be error because there's something we call reaction time. So when the pen actually hit the ground, okay, there was a short amount of time between where I heard the pen hit the ground, and when it hit the ground, and when I heard it hit the ground. And so that's called the reaction time. And so it's going to be important because it takes less than a second for the pen to fall from the top of my head toward the ground. And so a fraction of a second is going to introduce a lot of error. So that's what you're going to do next, is try to determine what your reaction time is. And I have a separate little video in the manual where you're going to drop a ruler, okay, in order to do that, to try to figure out what your reaction time is. And it's going to be best to do this with if you have somebody to help you for this part. And so what you'll want to do is you'll want to hold your fingers such that it's by the zero, so I'll use a centimeter end here. And so someone will hold it right there about where the 0 centimeter is with your fingers, and then you'll have them drop it, and you'll try to catch it. And so if you try to do this by yourself, you're going to notice that when you release it, in your mind that you released it, and so your fingers are going to react quickly. Okay, but if you look at the video in the lab manual where I did it with a helper, I didn't catch it quite here. I caught it almost halfway up the ruler. So there was going to be a big difference there. So try to get someone to help you with this part. And then from that you can find your reaction time, and then you can subtract that from the time you recorded with the stopwatch, and then you should get a better measurement of what your actual height is. Okay, and then in the second part of the lab, where we're going to use the iLab device, and I have a ramp here, And you'll see that I have a video, separate video on the lab manual for this, but we're going to push the device up the ramp and let it roll back down again, okay? And we're going to analyze that motion on the ramp. And so I did something like this in one of the lessons, so that might be good to refer to while you're doing this lab, if you feel like you're getting stuck. And then you're going to access, like you did in the first lab, you want to access this data from the iOLAB repository, okay? And then I want you to actually take a snapshot, a screenshot of the graph in there, and then on that graph identify certain locations, like where on the graph did the iOLAB device reach its maximum height on the ramp. Okay, so you're going to do a few things like that with that data and analyze it and determine what the angle of this incline is, and then that will be it for this lab on acceleration due to gravity.